Hi everyone, it's Kathryn here with another episode of 1-800-CALL Kathryn. I'm very happy to be back here for a very special episode. As you can tell, it's Halloween. I had a lot of fun shooting our Halloween episode last year, and so I will hopefully make this tradition going forward. But I'm happy to be back because it's been a while. It's been a couple months. I did put out an episode earlier this month, but I actually recorded that episode back in May, so this is the first time I'm recording a new episode in 5 or 6 months. But going forward, my hope is to get at least one episode out per month. So if you have questions, keep the calls coming in. 1-641-632-2727. The readings are always free. And yeah, so I guess that's all I have to say. Should we hear from our first caller?
Hello, Kathryn. I'm so excited to be able to speak briefly on this. These thoughts that I've had that I've been ruminating for a bit. I'm calling because I have been experiencing these different, what I assume to be, I guess, ancestral trauma manifestations in my body, my physical body, as sort of anxiety and just other kind of like OCD tendencies. And I figured I would reach out to see if you can find something in a reading that sort of gives me some guidance as to how I can approach these sorts of things that are happening on sort of the ancestral plane, but also, you know, just some guidance and direction for my own mind and spirit. Like, how can I approach these sort of ancestral traumas with sensitivity and with love, but also with strength and protection? There's parts of me that feels like I know, but I felt very compelled to call and ask. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best. Bye.
All right. Thank you for calling in. Let's shuffle these cards and see what we have for you. Yeah, that term, ancestral trauma, which I think that's the term that was used. Where's the... Oh. Sorry. By the way, I'm kind of paranoid about my microphone. I have all these sequins, I have all this hair, and I'm not used to navigating. My mic's always not the best. The term ancestral trauma, yes, that was the term that was used. It's kind of an interesting term because it means very different things to different people, and just ancestors in general. Like, what does that mean? Because there's people that I know that practice, this way. Ancestor worship, or they feel, they're being guided by their ancestors, they feel a connection to their ancestors, they feel, and it may be direct ancestors that they knew when they were physically in form, or it may be people that they've never met but they feel some kind of connection to, or it may be going way, way, way back, 1,000 years or more, and feeling that connection to lineage and ancestry, and then it can also mean, and I think it's more what I'm about to say, what the caller's calling about, is just I'm going to shuffle this one more time now that I'm chatting. I usually only shuffle twice, but is the traumas that are passed down from generation to generation, the habits, the patterns, the beliefs about how the world works, about how emotions work, about how relationships work. People are very likely to repeat a lot of the relational patterns of their parents, behavioral patterns of their parents. So for example, if you grow up and both of your parents are addicts in some way, alcoholics, or have some kind of addiction, you have a higher likelihood of falling into that same pattern. If there's abuse, there's unfortunately a likelihood of continuing on that pattern. If your parents growing up had a relationship where they yelled at each other, you're more likely to have a relationship where you're yelling at your partner, and so on. And but just because, humans were very porous in a way, we take on our environments without really knowing it. And it doesn't mean that you're stuck there, that you're doomed, you're destined to repeat the past. I know for myself, and I know many, many other people who are breaking those passed down patterns. And, if you look at where did those originate, as humans, we have these long histories of war, of men going off and doing really horrible things that they don't really want to be doing, but are, for one reason or another, are doing. People who, have a lineage of maybe their ancestors were fleeing their homelands. It wasn't safe to stay in their homelands. They had to leave. Maybe there was famine or starvation that they had to leave, or there was war or a genocide or a Holocaust or political danger of different kinds, enslavement, all different kinds of things can be carried through the lineage. Each generation will kind of relate to it in different ways, but they're all just unhealthy coping mechanisms, all the things that I mentioned before. But positive things get passed on as well, I feel like I gained from some grandparents, like having a more optimistic attitude, the belief that things will work out, bravery, trying out new things, creativity, like all these sort of things can get passed down. I know someone who's a third generation artist, and she's exactly probably what you would expect. But let's see what we have for our caller here. Okay, so we have the Six of Pentacles, the Moon, and the Magician. And so two of these cards here in the Major Arcana, the Moon and the Magician. And for me as a reader, I see, and if you guys have watched a lot of these shows, you'll probably have heard me say this multiple times, but to me this indicates that there's deeper themes going on, and considering the content of your call, this is not surprising. And it's not really surprising, definitely not to have the Moon there, and to have the Moon in the center here. So it feels fairly straightforward to me, the reading. I think we'll start with the Moon because that's just where we're going to start. But the Moon in tarot, when this comes up, to me it's often indicative of the subconscious mind, unconscious, so subconscious or unconscious patterns that we may have within ourselves. When I see this card come up, psychotherapy is something that I'm often suggesting to people, is doing some kind of psychotherapeutic work. Doesn't necessarily have to be in the traditional form. It can also just be kind of looking inwards and looking at you're saying you have OCD and tendencies and anxiety. Is that something you've been diagnosed with? Are you just noticing that in yourself? When does it get triggered? Why does it get triggered? Can you keep following it into deeper layers? Again, it's something that probably I could speak more about, but I think therapy is probably the better route than a mermaid giving you a tarot reading. But unfortunately, I always feel like I have to say this now, is I think that most therapy is trash. It's not good. It's not helpful. And I think it can just reinforce identities. Like, you might go to a therapist who starts just telling you that encouraging you to identify as someone with anxiety and OCD, when ideally I think you would want a therapist who would want to kind of help you break those habits, that you don't have to live with having I've experienced both of those things when I was younger, and it's a response to something. It's a response to something in your history or in your immediate environment. You don't have to live with it forever. And I think that it's unfortunate that that's kind of the viewpoint of a lot of therapists now, is that you do have to live with it forever. It's your label. It becomes a part of your identity, and people, wear it like a badge, like a part of their identity, when really it's just a symptom of something is off. It's like having a cold, or there's something is out of balance within the psyche, and in a lot of therapy it just stays on the surface, just kind of talk therapy, but I've had good luck in my life in the past with Hakomi types of psychotherapy, but I think it can take a while to find a therapist that is a good fit for you. But I would say with the material that you're talking about and having the moon card come up, that may be a good idea. Or at least talking to someone like a trusted loved one. I mean, trusted loved ones can sometimes be better than therapists, and sometimes they can be much, much worse than a therapist. So, but having the moon card here, to me also indicates that there's things that are under the surface. So you're just experiencing, it's like an iceberg, you're experiencing the symptoms of what you can see above water, but those symptoms originate deeper, they go back further, and it sounds like, you're already kind of thinking, is this ancestral, is this passed on? Did your parents have anxiety? Did they have kind of OCD tendencies? Is this something that you learned how to cope in this way, or are you coping because of maybe certain unsafe feeling parental behavior or something else in childhood? And I can only kind of make guesses here. The other cards we have the Six of Pentacles, which I like seeing here. With the Six of Pentacles, it's a reflection on where am I getting this from? So again, thinking about this ancestral kind of connection, where is this coming from? Where has this been learned? And how can I not pass this on? I don't want to pass this on, whether it's to your own children or even, to your friends and romantic relationships or work relationships where, certain relational patterns can be continued, not necessarily that you're passing it on like you would to your children, but they can have effects on those around you. So kind of reflecting on that. Where did it come from? Where did I learn it? And in what ways am I perpetuating it in my life? And then we have the Magician, and I love the Magician card here. He's kind of looking out over these other two cards. And as you said, you felt, there's a part of you that feels like you already know the answer to this. And so I feel like this is where the Magician comes in. My guess is everything that I'm saying is probably nothing new. It's not necessarily new information, but maybe it just feels good to have it reflected back. But with the Magician, one of his expressions is, you already have all the tools that you need. You already know what you need to do. You already have what you need here. So it's just time to put it into action, to put it into your life, to bring it into form. So let's pull an oracle card here for some guidance with these themes going forward. Nice. Well, I like this card for this reading. So there's a couple of cards in the Oracle deck that don't have a name, and this is one of them. And whenever I see this card, I think about mindfulness. I think about meditation. I think about clarity and focus. And so, another thing that could be beneficial for you at this time could be mindfulness, the type of meditation practice, something that can help focus and clarify your mind, because I find meditation and therapy, not necessarily therapy in the traditional sense, but just doing inner psychological work and then doing mind training, mindfulness work, bringing those two things together is amazing. It's like very powerful. If you just have one or the other, it feels like you're missing a leg or something, you're hobbled. But bringing them together, when your mind is more clear from meditation, you can see your patterns, you can see your emotions more clearly. You have, in a lot of ways, more control over your emotions. And, I've had meditation sessions sometimes where all these different, where childhood memories can kind of emerge. And that's not the point of meditation, but it can be, it can be very helpful. And then similarly, just meditation without any psychological work, people legitimately can go crazy doing too much meditation without processing. I live in this town where there's a big transcendental meditation community, and as far as I understand, what I've gathered from the town is that they're not big on psychological work, that they kind of just, you transcend it, but that's not real, that doesn't work. So you have all these people repressing, pushing down their feelings. I will say there are times where it can work, but for the vast majority of people, it's not going to work well, and you're going to end up just repressing and pushing things down. And then I've interacted with a lot of these people around town, and they're kind of nuts. They're very nice in a certain way, and have certain state capacities and a certain evenness in a certain way, but I can feel there's this volatility under the surface that's unsettling, that's a little disturbing. So bringing together, these two important things of doing your inner work and your meditative work, and you'll be in pretty good shape with these issues that you're having. Meditation can be extremely helpful for anxiety, and OCD is just an expression of anxiety. So, okay. All right, caller. That's what I think I have for you. I wish you the best with this. I think it's wonderful that you are doing this, that you're reflecting, that you're thinking about these things, and I hope that things settle, come to fruition easily as possible. So let's hear from our next caller. Okay.
Hi, Kathryn. This is Ashley, the Divine Dingo. Really excited to be leaving you a message for 1-800-Kathryn. I had a question about my relationship with abundance versus money, because I feel like the energy of abundance and I are tight. We are close, but the energy in my relationship with money is fickle and more complex than I want it to be. And I have a lot of contractions with it when fear around money comes up. So I was just wondering if I could get some clarity on the difference of my perspective with abundance and with actual American US dollars, American currency in American society. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Ashley. That is Ashley, the Divine Dingo, who many years ago now, time is moving really weird, but I think it was in 2021, I did a podcast interview with her. I'll put that link below. And in that interview, I don't remember all the things we talked about, but I know that we talked about the death of my dog and my experience with that, of seeing him through that experience. Sorry, I really hope this mic is okay. I can't tell you guys how many times I've shot videos for Patreon and the mic is like, my hair is rubbing against it or something that I kind of lose sight of. But yeah, money versus abundance, they're not the same thing, although many people correlate the two as the same thing, but they're really not. They're different things. And it's interesting to say that you feel that you have a great relationship with abundance, but money is triggering. Money brings up fears. There's contractions when fears around money come up. But a lot of people can relate to this. And there's a lot of people out there selling you courses and things because this is what people want to know. It's a top seller. How to attract abundance, how to attract money. If I named this video something like that, I bet I would get about 2,000 more views. About 2,000 more than I have now. But I'm extremely skeptical of those kind of things. There's something off-putting to me about it. No offense if you do that, but I'm sure that there are people that do it in like a integritous way, if that's a word, in integrity. But my guess is that the vast majority of people, it's not really. Yeah. Okay, let's see what we have for you, Ashley. Interesting kind of cards here. So we have the Tower, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Sun. It's just interesting for this topic here, because we have and this reading is also, last reading we had 2 major arcana. This reading we have 2 major arcana cards. So this is also, I would say probably a bigger theme for you, Ashley. The Tower and the Sun card are both major arcana cards, and the Tower card is one of those cards that people get afraid of. It doesn't look that scary in this deck, but if you'll look at it in the Rider-Waite-Coleman-Smith deck and lots of other decks, it's usually depicted as kind of a scary thing. But it's just change. It's just some kind of shift in your sense of self, your sense of identity. And although in the moment when we have the Tower card energy in our lives, we can feel disoriented, confused, discombobulated, afraid, scattered. It will, if worked with, if you work with the challenges in your life, if you meet them, they usually lead to something better. At least in the personal sense. Sometimes it can be a little harder in the world at large, but just in your life, I have found this to be true. If I meet challenges as they're arising to the best of my abilities, that it usually leads me somewhere better than I was before. And the Tower card, I was pulling that card every day, literally every single day during my Saturn return. It's a common thing to come up during Saturn returns. I don't know how old you are, Ashley, if you're there. I'm having my square Saturn right now, and it's decided to retrograde right on top of me, so I get to experience, and my Saturn is conjunct my moon, and it's conjunct my Uranus, and it squares my sun, so I get to have all of this goodness until the end of January, when it will move away. But yeah, and then what's interesting about this reading to me too is then we have the sun, and the sun is this like very joyful kind of aspect, and so, you know, joyful, optimistic, positive thinking kind of perspective. And so we have these two kind of things, and you could say, you know, the Tower card is maybe more how you feel in your relationship to money when money feels tight. I don't know how many people listening have you ever had where money's tight, where maybe you've lost your job or you had an unexpected expense. I had like a bunch of unexpected expenses this year with my car. The air conditioner for the house went out. We had to fix the porch, was rotting, and just like all these different things all happened at once. And when you see those numbers in your bank account start dwindling and dwindling and dwindling, or you see the number on your credit card balance going up and up and up, it's reasonable, I think, to have like a nervous response. And at the same time, it can be countered with this, you have this attitude of abundance. So it seems like you need to bring these two things together. But, you know, at the same time, being careful about correlating too closely money and abundance. So what do you have in abundance? Friends, food, shelter, you know, and maybe money kind of comes and goes. It's a little bit more nerve-wracking in some ways. Is there a way that you can bring in, you know, the Sun card, this more optimistic kind of attitude, into your relationship with money? Is that possible? Oh gosh, this is like something, I don't know. And I don't know if people also have experienced things like this, but I've had times where when I'm stressed about other things in my life, I might look at my bank account and say, okay, I only have enough money for this month, and like I've depleted all my savings. There's nothing if something happens, like if I don't make enough. And you know, I'm self-employed. I do these readings, I teach about herbalism, I sell flower essences. That's how I make my money, and it's up and down. And so some months I make not very much money at all, and some months lots of money comes in, and I just don't always know what month is what. And so there might be one kind of period where, you know, I'm saying to myself, okay, I have enough for this month, but what's going to happen next month? And it could be, I could have a lot of feelings of stress and anxiety and fear and tension that come up with that. Like what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I could start fixating on it for days at a time. And then something can shift, and I have even less money in the bank account, and I'm not worried at all. I'm like, oh, it'll, you know, something will come, something will, you know, I have enough. That's enough. You know, I don't need to have all this extra. So, and a lot of times it's correlated with stress, seemingly unrelated stress that I'm going through in my life. Yeah. Okay, and then we also have the Knight of Pentacles. And so Pentacles have to do with our physical world experience. So they have to do with things like money, okay? And the Knight is this aspect of the suits where he's bringing what he knows into the world. So my guess is you already understand basically what the issue is on some level. If you have this great relationship with the idea of abundance, with the energy of abundance, then you just have to bring that in more into your experience with money. I wish we didn't have this monetary system in a lot of ways. It's very strange, and yeah. Let's pull an oracle card for some guidance with these themes going forward. Oh, another card without a name in the oracle deck, this one here. Pulling this seashell, much like my earrings, which I don't know if they can be seen very well here. Like a mermaid would pull her seashell out from the depths of the waters here. And, you know, I think when I see this card in relationship to the rest of this reading, bringing this beauty, this sacredness. I mean, look at that shape. Is that not sacred? Is that not perfection? Bringing that kind of energy up from the depths, up to the surface. There's some kind of hurdle, I think, that has to be crossed with these feelings that you have around money. A change in your sense of identity, your sense of self. Do you have an identity? Do you have a sense of self that says, I don't have a lot of money. I'm like a roving artist type, and I don't need money. I don't want money. There's a wisdom in that. But if you're trying to work with anxieties around money, then you might explore, is there any sort of neurotic expression of that? Or, you know, and can I kind of clear myself of these more neurotic expressions of like the free spirit, don't need money, and really tune into like what's the more pure expression of that? Because sometimes, you know, we can go into things like that out of fear, you know, out of fear of like, oh, I'm not going to have enough money, so I might as well just embrace the identity or the attitude of the traveling hippie artist. And then, you know, then I don't have to have money. And that can be done out of fear because you don't believe that you can have money. And it can be done out of wisdom because you see that money is not needed for happiness. I think we have an extremely materialistic society, and this is more and more so the case. I think social media, I've been avoiding social media a lot over the past few years, really, but when I went on yesterday to post something, herbal care package, by the way, which you can sign up. If you're watching this on Halloween, today's the last day to sign up. It's a little elixir available through my Patreon. On Patreon, I send out monthly herbal care packages each month if you are in the United States of America. Speaking of America, we said that's the most times America and American has been said in a call to the show. Yeah, and with those monthly herbal care packages, you also get access to my library of video classes, which I think we're at over 100 videos now. About 30 of those videos are about tarot. So if you want to learn about tarot, I have hours and hours and hours of videos on there, probably 25 or 30 so hours of video classes on tarot. Yeah. Why was I bringing that up? What was I saying? Oh no, I lost my thought. This is what happens when you start going into little tangents like this. Well, I don't remember what I was talking about, but I think maybe I was talking about something with that money. Oh, that we have a more materialistic. That's okay. I was posting about my herbal care package on Instagram, and going on Instagram and realizing that every post that I was seeing was basically an ad, and even like, yeah, just everything was an ad, including what I was posting. You know, it's just, is that what social media is now? It's just selling things. It's just people trying to make a living selling things. which obviously that's what I do. I don't have anything against that, but there's something, I miss old social media very much. I miss social media before 2020. I think that was kind of the turning point where people sort of lost their minds, even more so. But anyway, I think that's what I have for you, Ashley. You know, you take what you already understand about abundance and apply it towards money. See if there's any kind of ways that you may need to change your relationship to money, but at the same time avoiding becoming materialistic and avoiding those, you know, like I mentioned, people selling courses about how to attract abundance and money. I think sometimes those kind of courses have the unconscious or conscious effect of making people more materialistic. So instead of actually connecting to something that you love doing in life, that I feel like usually if you're doing something that you're passionate about, that you love, you'll make enough money to support yourself, even if it's like a modest living. But I've seen those courses sometimes and it feels like they're selling this kind of lifestyle, this rich, bougie, spiritual materialism, basically. And I think that really misses the point. But if that's what you want, you know, I don't think, knowing a little bit about Ashley, I don't think that's what she wants. But all right, well, thanks for calling in, Ashley. I hope this was helpful. And let's hear from our last caller here.
Hi, Kathryn. This is Bryn. I'm calling in about my meditation practice. As far as the Patreon, we just did the meditation month, and I expressed like some of my struggles with it. And it's been a little confusing for me. I've been sitting, and I think it's going well now, which I'm glad about. But I do feel this, and I say that tentatively, it's still a work in progress. But I do feel like this underlying fear, and I don't know what it's a fear of, because I'm excited to progress in like my spiritual practice, and that's a personal goal of mine. So I'm just having a lack of clarity, I suppose, on what that pushback and fear is. So I'd love any insight on that you have, and thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling in, Bryn. And Bryn was mentioning back in June I did on my Patreon, which I just mentioned. Sorry, I know I'm fidgeting a lot this episode. I'm just not used to having so many things on me. I'm pretty uncomplicated in my attire normally. But on the Patreon, for all members of the Patreon, I did what I was calling a meditation invitation, where I gave a bunch of resources on doing this like 1 month of meditation challenge and guided meditations. I did a video class on introduction to meditation, and I have a little PDF that I made for it as well, just kind of tips and different things, how to get started, a little calendar that you can use to check off the days that you meditate. And that can be started at any time. So if you are interested in starting to learn meditation, I have a bunch of resources, and those are available at the $2 a month tier on Patreon and up. And that $2 a month tier, also you can get monthly tarot forecasts. So if you like my style of tarot here, I do these monthly forecasts over there. Okay, last time I'm gonna really fidget with this here. It's just moving, it's moving around. But yeah, I've been a long term. Don't you guys take me seriously as a meditation teacher when I'm dressed like this? But I've been a long-term meditator. I've been meditating since I was about 17. It's been a very transformative and important practice in my life, and I really recommend it to everybody. And, you know, as Bryn's saying, there's some fear that's coming up, and I think that that's really normal for different reasons. Is meditation is confrontational. It can be very confrontational, and it can also put us into contact with things that we might be avoiding. It might, you know, fears, you know, if we slow down enough, if we quiet down enough, we might actually feel or hear the fears that we have under the surface there. So let's shuffle these cards. Let's see what we have for you, Bryn. Another thing, I know I'm talking about my Patreon a lot, but last month I put out a class on spiritual emergencies, because that's another thing that people they think meditation is, you know, it should just keep bringing you greater and greater and greater peace. And ultimately, I think it does. But there are times when people have what Stanislav Grof coined the term spiritual emergency. You may have heard about things like a Kundalini awakening, where sometimes that's like a great thing for someone, and sometimes it's really disruptive and dysregulating and stressful. And anyway, I won't go all into that. If you're interested, that is also available on the Patreon. But meditation, it's so much more than I think people understand. If you are just kind of staying at the surface, you're just doing like 10, 15, 20 minutes a day of just, you know, listening to waterfall music or something, you know, it can be very good and like keeping you calm. You're probably not going to go that far with it, but it might help bring like a sense of peace. But if you're doing more traditional meditations, then long-term or long sits, you know, you can find yourself in contact with things that maybe you were not expecting to come up, emotional content. Interesting. So we have the moon coming up again. That was in our first reading. It also makes sense for this. We also have the 8 of Pentacles and the 10 of Cups. And so, you know, like I said for the first reading, the moon card, you know, it's this invitation to go inwards, or it's an invitation to go inwards, or it's an indication that there's already things afoot, things at play around the emotional landscape, around the subconscious, the unconscious. And so it sounds like you already are aware of that, because as you said, you have this fear coming up, but you're not really sure where it's coming from. That sounds like unconscious material to me, fear that we don't know where it's originating from. But then we have these 2 nice cards here. We have the 8 of Pentacles and the 10 of Cups. The 8 of Pentacles I relate to as being a card of patience, letting this process kind of do what it needs to do. But it's also a very grounded card, a very grounding card. And so keeping the meditations, you know, if you find yourself kind of floating off in space, which can happen sometimes, making sure, you know, you're also grounding, you know, so doing things like if you eat meat, eating some meat, especially red meat. If you don't eat meat, or even if you do eat meat, having root vegetables, potatoes, sweet potatoes, carrots, rutabagas, things that are, you know, earth, grounding, kinds of things, and also herbs that are grounding, which can also be roots like dandelion root, burdock root, yellow dock, so many good roots, licorice root, although I don't find licorice root to be that grounding. And doing physical activity like I do heavy barbell weightlifting to keep me, for my back, which I keep fidgeting. Part of why I haven't done any videos because I hurt my back recently, but it's also very grounding. It's very like embodying to do things like that. I think physical activity, like when you're running, I don't think it's very embodying, or yoga is mixed. Sometimes it kind of depends on the teacher, if you're in a class, or like the type of yoga that you're doing, whether it's grounding or ungrounding. Going for walks in nature, going to the beach, just doing things that like bring you into your body, connect you with the earth. So being patient and also staying grounded. And then the 10 of Cups is this, to me, it's a very celebratory card. It's this fullness. It's the 10. It's the completion of the cups. The cups have to do with the element of water. They have to do with our emotions, our emotional landscape. And so the 10 is this like feeling of harmony, completion, wholeness, peace within our emotions. A key word that I think of with the 10 of Cups is joy, joyfulness. So, overall with this reading and your question here, the fear coming up, is normal. I think that's another thing, is sometimes people are surprised because you think, oh, I'm meditating to be less anxious, to be less fearful. And it can be surprising because I think that we don't always realize that sometimes in order to be less anxious, less fearful, the way to do so is to kind of settle down, calm down, not worry so much, not be, just kind of be like, okay, I'm overblowing this, I'm living in fear and I don't need to be, kind of putting things into perspective. And then other times, in order to be less fearful, less anxious, you actually have to go into those feelings and understand, again, thinking about the first caller, where is this fear originating from? Where is this anxiety originating from? And that's kind of also my issue with the vast majority of psychotherapy now that I mentioned again with the first caller, is that I think a lot of them just think you can have anxiety without any reason, instead of understanding that it's a response to something in your environment, whether that response is it's responding to something in your environment from 50 years ago or last year, or it's something that's happening currently. It's still like a response. It doesn't just come from nowhere. So that, it's probably bringing you into contact with these kind of feelings that you might not have otherwise been aware of. And to be patient with it. And with this 10 of Cups, to just keep an optimistic kind of outlook and optimistic attitude about it, to not beat yourself up about it, to not get fearful or lost in anything here. But to just stay optimistic and joyful in the practice too. Find the joy in the practice. So let's pull an oracle card here. Aha. Okay, so we have release. Seems appropriate, no? Release. What is being released? What is being let go of at this time in relationship to this? What is ready to be released? What needs to be released? What is already being released? That fear is what I would guess is what's being being released, being worked with. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I think that there's not much more to say with this card. So, yep, you just stick with it, Bryn. Keep meditating, and, you know, when intense things come up, that's why you have, you know, you make sure that you have resources. You have, you know who you can call if something, you know, difficult emotions arise. Maybe you have a meditation teacher, maybe you have a therapist, maybe you have friends, loved ones who can help you, who understand. Because a lot of people, if you tell them, I'm having a lot of fear coming up during meditation, and they've never meditated before, they're gonna think you're nuts. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna pull our card of the day. And the card of the day is a card for everybody watching, and it does not matter if you are watching this the day that this was put out or you're watching this 5 years from now. It is your card. Just some kind of energies to keep in mind. But actually, before I do that, I'll just mention that if you would like to get a reading from me that's not on the show, I do offer readings through my website. And I love giving readings, which is why I do this show. I make $0 and it's a lot of work, but I have fun doing the show, and I really love giving readings to people. And I like this show because I feel like it's an opportunity for people who might not otherwise maybe be able to get a reading for one reason or another, get the opportunity on the show. And and also, you know, I think everyone can kind of learn from other people's calls, other people's readings. But if you do want a reading that's not on the show, I do offer them through my website. I offer one-off readings where if you have a specific question that you want answered, I will answer it. And then I do these monthly tarot forecasts, personalized monthly forecasts it's been the most popular offering that I've had for the last 6 or 7 years. And so each month you get sent a personalized forecast or reading. It's like a 15-minute reading, and it's just things to keep in mind for you going forward, the month going forward. And I also do a collective monthly forecast on my Patreon, and that's only $2 a month. You can find that on the Patreon. And as I mentioned, on the Patreon, I have like a couple different tiers. I have the $2, which you get a couple different things like the meditation invitation, and there's some articles and interviews with people that I did. There's the monthly tarot forecast. There's a $5 a month tier, which has all of these video classes. It's about 100 different video classes for $5. It's a really good deal. I feel like there's a lot of people that would probably be selling each one of these videos for like $50 a piece or more. But all of them are available for that $5 a month, and they're on topics like tarot, herbal medicine, poisonous plants, making herbal medicine, making herbal smoke blends, herbal room sprays, herbal aphrodisiacs, the Book of the Dead, introduction to symbolism, introduction to meditation, lots of making everyday items into sacred objects, ritual objects. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, a lot of different plant videos, class about lily of the valley, brugmansia, datura. I have a plant journey tier, which has audio recordings of a bunch of different plant journeys. If you've taken the poisonous plant medicine course, you'll be familiar with those types of journeys. And the poisonous plant medicine course, I haven't started yet. I thought that I would be done with converting it to a pre-recorded version. I thought it would be done in March, but like I said, this has been a very busy, weird year for me, and I will hopefully have it done in January. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, my most recent live version of the class, which I shot in this past January, is available for 30% off. I never give that big of a discount for the course, and it's, you know, unlikely to be at that price when I launch this other class. And this live version of the course had a great class. I had a really great group, great questions that were asked. And that was the 19th time that I've taught this class. So I taught that class many times, and I feel like I really, I know it well and feel very connected to that work. So if you've never taken the course, or if you've taken in the past, and you want like a refresh, or you want to see how maybe it's changed over the years, it is 30% off, which is a lot, because I try to price the course fairly. I don't price the course high so that I make a ton of money and so that, I can put it on sale and, don't care that it's on sale. But yeah. Oops, I think that's it. Oh, and then if you guys are watching, you're all here, all the way here to the end of the show, please give the video a like. If you have a YouTube account, please subscribe to the channel. I really don't know how much it matters for the YouTube algorithm these days, but I think it helps somewhat if people are liking the videos, that they get shown to more people. But I don't know. And share with people that you think might like the show. If you've enjoyed the show, if you've gotten a free reading on the show, consider sharing it with people that you think might enjoy it. So let's see what our card of the day is. Aha! The Ace of Swords. I love this card. Very energetic, the aces in tarot, there's a lot of energy, momentum, movement behind them. Can be kind of, it's not necessarily focused. It doesn't really know where it's heading, but it's like when you start something new, you have some kind of new project or new relationship or new job, new thing, you've moved to a new town. There can be all of this momentum and excitement and energy behind it that you don't have when you've been involved in something for a long time. It's different. But you also don't have the maturity, you don't have the clarity, you don't have the wisdom that comes with being with something for a long time. So the swords, they have to do with the element of air. They have to do with the way that we think, the way we communicate. So there's new thoughts coming in at this time. There's new ways of thinking coming in at this time. And I think all of us could benefit from that, considering, I look online and there's just a lot of groupthink, a lot of parroting of the same things over and over. I can't tell sometimes if this is AI or if this is a person that sounds like AI because they're so unperson-like, lacking the ability to have new thoughts, expansive thoughts. So at this time, letting your mind explore new territory. Maybe you want to learn a new skill, maybe you want to read a new book, maybe you want to study something different. But at the same time, not letting it get out of control. That's one of the risks with the aces. When we're starting something new in our lives, sometimes we can jump in full into something before we really know what we're signing up for, before we really know what we've gotten ourselves into. And with the swords, it could be maybe there's some kind of new political ideology or new religion that you're exploring, or new something having to do, new thinking. Maybe you're learning a new type of therapy, or new this or new that. Maybe give yourself time to let it kind of simmer before you jump fully into it. So, all right, guys, let's see. I'm supposed to have a meeting in 5 minutes, and I'm really hoping. I asked if they could meet me a half an hour later than normal. They did not respond, so I think I need to really quickly get this off. And thanks all for being here, and I hope you have a happy Halloween. You have fun. Have fun. Halloween is one of our a few holidays that we get in the United States where we get to have, celebrate and decorate and have fun and wear a costume. I went all in my 20s. I didn't celebrate holidays really. I just was like, what's the point? Or I don't know what. I was just being a little grumpy kind of. Excuse me. Wear a costume, have fun, and keep calling in. Call into the show. I need more calls. I want to shoot an episode at least once a month. And I will see you all next time. Bye, guys.